Hey guys, what's going on? I'm here to make another video today about the JET program, and this time I want to talk about the interview process itself, and particularly the actual interview that you'll have at whatever consulate you live closest to. And I have a little bit of advice for you guys. Primarily, I think what's most important is to realize that if they asked you to come to the interview, it's because they already like you. And what they want to know, primarily, what they're looking for, is to see if you are the person that they thought you were when they read your essay among the 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 other applicants who applied just like you. So take confidence in the fact that your application was liked enough to invite you there so that when you arrive, you're not nervous and you're not worried about what they might ask you. As far as questions go in the interview process, it can kind of range from anything. In my experience, they ask questions like, if there was some form of discipline in the classroom that you didn't agree with, what would you do? If you heard teachers talking about you in a way that you didn't think was respectful, how would you react? How would you involve yourself in the community outside of teaching? And what would you offer in return for this experience when you come back home? Or you continue teaching in Japan, whether or not that be with the JET program or whether or not that be teaching at all. So what JET's looking for is to, one, see that you're the person that they thought you were in your application and your essay. Two, to see if you're the kind of outgoing person who will not only engage with the community in Japan, both your students, your teachers, and with the international community that's being built there. And three, engaging with Japan after the JET program. I think those three things are most critical in what they're looking for. Your answer should somehow work towards conveying that information to them in a clear and concise way. Something else that I think is important to the interview too, to take in consideration, is that they're looking for people who are confident in their ability to be adaptable in environments and in situations that they're not going to be comfortable with. And the interview is their first and really only chance to see how you'll react under pressure. And so when I went to my interview, I wasn't asked to do a example lesson, for instance, even though some people were asked. My consulate just did not ask me. But other people reported that they did in fact have to do mock lessons, and in some situations the teachers, or the interviewers I should say, acted very childish or very loud or didn't engage when there were questions that were being asked. And so they want to see how you would react in a situation that you're not in control of, in a place that you're not comfortable with, and the interview room is their mock classroom to see how you'll react. Similarly, they'll want to know things about you that show them that you're a person who's capable of change and adaptability. And so something that they talked a lot about with me was my experience when I did study abroad in Osaka. They wanted to know what my first couple months there were like. They wanted to know how I interacted with people. They wanted to know whether or not I got along with Japanese people, whether or not I got along with my roommates, how did I handle homesickness. And so if you have an experience like that, whether that be teaching kids in another context, or having just traveled, whether that be abroad or within your own country. And so try to think of some experiences that you can extrapolate on and talk about a bit in depth, because the interview will focus around those qualities about you. So make sure to always tie it into that you are capable of being adaptable, that you are excited about doing it again if you've never been to Japan before, and that you are willing to go out on a limb and be put in those situations, whether or not they're uncomfortable, and that you'll take it all in stride. That's what they want to know. Something else they might ask you, if you wrote or marked that you speak some Japanese in your application, is they might ask you to perform some Japanese for them. And it doesn't have to be good, right? They're not looking for people who are fluent in Japanese. They're just looking to see if you are who you say you are. So I spoke a little bit Japanese before I went. I wasn't particularly confident, I wasn't particularly good. Even though I studied abroad, I did not study like I should have. But when they sat down, they asked me some very simple questions at first. A little bit about myself, where I'm from, what are my hobbies, some go-to questions, and then moved into tell me about your home city. What are 3 things that you'd recommend if I was to visit your home. And they just want to see how far you can go. And in my experience, they had a native Japanese speaker there who asked the question and listened and responded. I didn't do very well. I did not. But I don't think it really impacted my scores at all. They're looking to see if you can speak Japanese, if you said you did, and they'll take into consideration how fluent you are when they're placing you. And so if you don't speak much Japanese, expect to be in a high school or middle school. And if you speak some or a lot, you might be in elementary school. So just be prepared for that too. And lastly, I think maybe the most important thing to be consistent about in the interview is following up on questions they ask you about your essay that you wrote and extrapolating on things you said in your essay. When I was being interviewed, I was asked questions about things I did not write, and I was asked to talk about things that I did not say in my interview. So when those questions came up, I said in my essay, I don't think I said that. I think what I said or what I meant was X. Or I don't remember writing that in my essay, but I think what you mean is X. So be prepared to defend yourself in your essay and know it back and forth, front and back, from beginning to end. Read it 100 times, read over it a whole bunch, because that's all they know about you that they're coming up with their questions from. And they want to see that you're the person that you wrote about in your essay. So maybe most critically, be aware of the questions they're asking you, relate it back to your essay, and recognize the questions that are trying to trick you into saying something that you did not say. They want to know that you're consistent, that you are who you said you are. And if you show them that you weren't the person who went and did study abroad for 6 months in France, or you said you want to get involved in sports clubs in your high schools, but then you say that you don't really want to get involved in sports, or that you don't like sports at all, those are indicators that, I won't say they won't take you, but they're going to look at you a little bit questioningly. So be prepared to be consistent, be prepared to fend off questions, and be prepared to be yourself in an honest way. And so I think that's again, I said this before, but the most important thing to worry about when you're in there, more so than the way you dress, even though you should definitely come in a suit, and more so than the way you speak Japanese, and more so than whatever sort of game you might end up playing or practice lesson you might be doing. Be consistent, be yourself, and show them who you are when you wrote that essay. Show them that person, and I think you won't have any problems in your interview. So, to wrap things up, guys, if you liked the video, it's a little bit shorter than my last one. Please like the video, subscribe for more, and leave comments if you have questions about the interview. I didn't want to make an overly long or excessive video, so if you have questions, drop them down in the comments section. I'll try to get to every one of them if possible. And so, guys, thanks again for watching. It means a lot to me. And be sure to check me out again soon for another video. So until then, guys, later.